all I wanted from Rivian was for them to communicate with me. I'd have been totally fine if they would just say, hey, look, we changed how we're going to do this. We should have prioritized our original pre-orders first, and you're going to have to wait. I'd have been okay with that because I was already of the mindset that I was going to be waiting anyway. And so that really disappointed me how they handled that communication process. My Rivian journey began back in January when I placed my pre-order. I believe it was January 28th. And the reason I placed my pre-order in, I was watching a bunch of YouTubers that were test driving the Rivian, and they were saying, oh man, this vehicle should be worth a lot more than what they're charging for it. And I also heard it from Monroe after they did an analysis of the vehicle, and they say, oh, they're losing money on these things. They should be charging around $100,000. And it's at that point I put my pre-order in. I was like, they're going to raise the price of this vehicle. And sure enough, not long afterwards, they raised the price by $20,000, at least for my vehicle. Anyway, I think actually mine was a little more than that. But anyway, when they raised the prices up, and I looked at my account, it was like $104,000 for that Rivian. And of course there was a big outcry. And thanks to who I call the nerds at Rivian Stories, which are actually, because of the glasses. I guess I'm a nerd too. But anyway, I call them the nerds. They went crazy. And I think it was because of them that really pressed Rivian to go back and recant on those price increases for the pre-order holders. So I was able to get my vehicle at a much lower cost. So thanks to the community for banding together and with the outrage and having them recant. I think it was like within 3 days that they went back and said that anyone who ordered before March 1st, they were going to honor the prices that were in place at that time. And so not long afterwards, I switched from the Max Pack to the large pack. And the reason being, after watching a bunch of videos, I really didn't see a use case, at least for me anyway, for the large pack, especially considering it would take a lot longer to charge. And I do have a trailer, but I don't tow it that far. Usually just to one of the big box stores to pick up big items and things like that. So one of the things I was thinking about was like, if you got to charge it to 80%, if you're sitting at a charging station and this is not an 800 volt platform, which means it's not charging faster than the current platform, you're just going to be sitting at a charging station longer. So I didn't really see what the value was, especially when it cost an additional $10,000 for the Max Pack. So I switched to the large pack. And not long afterwards, probably within 2 weeks, I received an email to set up my guide call. And that started, I think, beginning of May. And I actually had my guide call on the 16th of May. And at that point, my guide told me, like, I signed my agreement, and she told me, hey, you should be receiving a delivery of your vehicle in about 8 weeks. And I was so excited. Every day I'd go into my account to see if my 8-step process has started. And every day I'm looking, probably every hour I'm looking, I was just so excited. Then a week passed by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I say, well, maybe it's going to take 8 weeks. Maybe I give them 6 weeks before I say, hey, what's going on? 6 weeks passes by. I reach out to my guy, didn't hear anything for about a week. 8 weeks passed by and still nothing. I emailed my guys like, hey, well, I thought it was going to take delivery in about a week, in 8 weeks. She's like, she didn't really know what's going on and she would get back with me. And maybe every 2 or 3 weeks I would reach out to her, nothing. She was like, hey, I don't know anything myself. 12 weeks passed by. And on August 16th, I received an email from my guide letting me know that Rivian had reprioritized how their vehicle delivery, and they're going to be prioritizing the people who placed their orders first, which made sense to me because I was kind of surprised that I placed my order end of January, beginning of February, and I was already going to take delivery of my vehicle in like May or June or whatever, which there have been people waiting years to take delivery of their vehicle. And plus, there's a bunch of outcry online, and when some YouTubers, you probably know what I'm talking about, they got their vehicle right after they ordered it. So, and I think I got caught up in that. I guess Rivian called that the Rivian lottery, and I guess the backlash they got from that was really bad. So they decided to, people like me to, okay, you're gonna have to wait now. All I wanted from Rivian was for them to communicate with me. I'd have been totally fine if they would just say, hey, look, we changed how we're going to do this. We should have prioritized our original pre-orders first, and you're going to have to wait. I'd have been okay with that because I was already of the mindset that I was going to be waiting anyway. And so they really disappointed me how they handled that communication process. That was a big, because they got my hopes up that I was going to be receiving my vehicle just to dash them. And I wasn't the only one. I was reading on some of the forums where, a few other people were in that same situation. And so after receiving my email, I began to think, I didn't have a leveraging position. I had no leverage in this situation whatsoever. And they had me because what I'm going to do, cancel my order, especially if I'm getting it at the pre-March prices. No, that's not wise on my part. So I didn't have a choice but to really wait. So that's what I was going to do. However, I was like, man, I need to find a way to regain leverage in this situation. And I began to, do an analysis of the company and what their processes were and what they might be prioritizing. And I began to think, it was like, I just don't see them making this max pack. I just didn't see it. It's like you're going to put a 180 kilowatt hour battery in a vehicle and you're already having problems sourcing materials. It just didn't make sense to me because for every 2 max packs or 3 max packs, I forgot what my calculations were, that they could have produced a large pack vehicle. So on August 29th, I actually wrote an article on the Rivian forums, as I said, that stating that I didn't believe that Rivian would be making a max pack. It just didn't make sense to me. Why would they do that? From a shareholder's perspective, it didn't make economic sense for them to do it, especially when earlier the year, they said that they were having issues sourcing battery components. And that was going to be a big issue for all of the electric car makers. So I didn't see why would they be making a 180 kilowatt battery when no other manufacturer was doing that. Everyone was like 300 miles of range. And so I just believed, I knew that they were not going to make that max pack. And so part of my strategy is for me to switch back to the max pack. So that's what I did. I was like, I know they're not going to make this battery at some point, which I believe was going to be within 3 months. They're going to cancel it. And which is going to, and as a consolation, they were going to say, hey, if you switch, we'll move you to the front of the line to get your Rivian. I said, okay. So that's what I did. I switched to the max pack, and then come September, they told all the pre-order holders, you're going to have your configuration locked in by mid-October, I believe, in which I did. I locked in my configuration, which is limestone. I changed it to the Ocean Coast interior because I realized it was a no-cost interior, and so it actually lowered the cost of my vehicle. Was actually had switched to the Forest Edge at one point. So I switched from Forest Edge to the Ocean Coast, which was free of charge, and limestone with the black 22s and the max pack. And of course, they locked my configuration in, and comes December 20th, just like I thought it was going to happen, they sent me an email, said basically they're not making the max pack with the quad motors. They're not going to do it. But they were going to produce a 2-motor max pack. Yeah, we'll see about that. They're going to produce a 2-motor max pack instead. However, since I had ordered this, they were going to allow me to switch if I switch before January, and they'll give me priority shipping or delivery on my Rivian. And so on the 22nd, I switched. Also, part of the email, Rivian stated that they were going to issue out new delivery dates in January. And they're going to reconfigure everything based on location, your configuration, and another variable. I can't remember exactly what it is. And so January passes by, and I believe January 31st, I received my new delivery date, and it was April through May of 2023 of this year. I was like, great, okay, I'll be getting my my vehicle between April and May. I was pretty excited, but I had a feeling, I was like, this is going to happen earlier. This is going to happen now. And this is the end of January 31st. And a week later, I get an email from Rivian that said, prepare for the purchase process or something to that effect. They said they were opening up the R1T shop for me. I was like, oh, great. And they said it was going to happen in a couple weeks. I would gain access. I was like, good. I got a couple weeks. I get access to shop for a Rivian. I was like, great. This is awesome. Then the next day, I get an email. Well, 2 days later, I get an email from Rivian that said, prepare for the purchase process. I had my 8-step process. And it was on the 8th of January. And so I get in there. I completed my 8 steps that night. On the night of the 8th, I did everything. I got my financing, insurance, did my trade-in information all that night. And then I looked on the forums, and it was like, usually after the 8-step process, it takes probably around 8 weeks to get your vehicle. I was like, that's cool. I'm fine with that. And that puts me around the time they said I'll be taking delivery. So 2 days later on Friday, I look and I get an email to say, prepare to take delivery. And I had to go in to choose a delivery date. And I looked in and it gave me 2 dates. It was either February 14th or either February 15th. And just 2 times. So it was like either that and was nothing after that. And I live in Illinois. And so I had to actually, there was no, originally I thought they were going to be dropping the vehicle off to me, but no, I had to drive to the factory. And there was no other option. It was either I drive to the factory in one of these 2 days or nothing after that. So I picked the 14th and drove out to the factory to pick my vehicle up. And a part of that, they sent me a welcome packet, and they said they're going to be giving me a tours at the register and things like that even before I came up. I also had a few hiccups with the 8-step process also. I'll talk about them in another video. But so I drive down to the factory, and a part of the process was a tour. And I get there, and I with some other gentlemen who've been waiting for a few years for their Rivian, and I was the only one that was actually taking delivery though. So we take a tour. It was an awesome tour. Very, very impressed with the operations. I don't know. That's the first time I've ever been in an auto manufacturing plant. So, but I was very impressed. With their professionalism, their excitement, and things like that. And when I took my test drive, I had the opportunity to talk to the gentleman that went on the test drive with me, and I'm from the HR world, so I'm curious about how employees feel about their organization. And I asked him, hey, how do you like working for Rivian? He said he absolutely loved it. It was the best job he ever had. And so for me, that was something really good to hear as far as going forward for Rivian, especially if you're a shareholder, so looking at employee morale is a big thing. So did all that, took delivery of my vehicle, and I've had it ever since. But let's just gives you a little glimpse into my strategy and what I did in order to get my vehicle earlier than I probably otherwise would have. Now I just want to discuss some of the Rivian strategies going forward and some of the things I predict for the future for Rivian as far as deliveries and basically some of the changes they may make to the vehicle. So if you have not taken delivery of your Rivian yet, especially if you ordered after the 1 March date, the vehicle that you ordered will most likely not be the vehicle that you take delivery of. Let me say that again. The vehicle that you ordered will not, and most likely, be the vehicle that you ordered. And I can even say that was true for me, because one of the things I ordered and I really wanted was the tonneau cover. And I paid for a tonneau cover. And then, of course, I don't have a tonneau cover. It's supposed to be a manual cover. Who knows what it looks like? There hasn't been any communication on it. I just know I paid for something that I don't have. And so, don't know what's going on with that. So, and the reason I say that the vehicle that you ordered is probably not going to be a vehicle that you receive is I look at the number of vehicles Rivian says they're going to manufacture. They say they're going to be manufacturing 50,000 vehicles this year. And they may have done that to lower expectations, to under promise and over deliver, which is a good strategy. But there's another thing at play. I believe the big Rivian strategy going forward is cost cutting. Cut the costs. They have to cut costs. This is a new company and they have to be able to survive. And the best way to do that is cost cutting. Now, they cannot afford to get rid of any employees because they're probably really down to just people actually on the production line. And so if they cut people from the production line, that's fewer vehicles they can produce, and that just extends the time that they can reach economies of scale. So the only real strategy they have is cost cutting. And time would actually probably assist them in this, especially in this high interest rate environment. If they are predicting that sometime next year that the interest rates will start to come down, then their costs will also come down for all the tools and machinery that they need to keep producing these vehicles. But if they limit the amount of vehicles that they produce this year, it gives them more time to introduce more cost-cutting strategies. And so going into next year, they will actually be getting more profit on those vehicles, especially if they can cut off like $10,000 or $20,000 of cost. That's kind of a lot. But if they can really find ways to really cut costs by removing components from the vehicle, and you can see they're already doing it. They already are starting to produce the stereo system in-house. So it's going to be a Rivian system instead of Meridian, and they say they're going to be using lighter materials, which more likely means, I won't say lower quality, but not as high as quality speakers as you otherwise would have been getting with the Meridian system. And so just be prepared that there are some other things that probably are not going to be on this vehicle. And also, there are some things that you're probably going to end up having to pay for. So one of the strategies Rivian may employ is fee for services. When I say that, like additional features for the vehicle, that it'd be by subscription, or either you have to actually outright pay for it. Yeah, Rivian is actually already doing this with the dual motor vehicles. So you have one variant of the dual motor, which is 600 horsepower. And then you have another one that's 700 horsepower. It costs more money, and I'm pretty sure there's probably the exact same motors on that vehicle. They're just unlocking more power. And if you ever looked at Watch Monroe when they dismantled the Rivian motors, they said there was more power in there than they're actually outputting. They can actually output more power. So it's a very good chance that there may be an option later to pay for additional power for the Rivian, and that'd be a good profit center for them. And some of these manufacturers are going this way, and I can definitely see Rivian doing this, especially if you can just go on the Rivian shop and purchase new features, and then you get in via over-the-air update. So if you want certain things like, I don't know, certain key fob features, access to certain cameras, like if you want to be able to get the gear guard to your cell phone, I can definitely see them adding these features in packages that you can purchase. I mean, from a consumer perspective, it's not great, but from a manufacturer and stockholder perspective, that can be a very good profit center. Because I know if there were some really good features that I saw that they were putting out, I would more than likely purchase it, depending on what it is. And plus, you get to tailor your vehicle to your own particular taste. And so some features you may not want, and others that you may want, then you just pay for it. And for example, you see that this vehicle actually has a camera, to watch your eyes for self-driving. And I believe that when that version is fully capable, that's going to be something that you're going to probably have to pay for. So I just want you to get prepared. And I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but some of these more advanced features, you're going to have to pay for this stuff. I don't see how you're going to get around it. But I can see why Rivian will stay silent on this. But I would just say be prepared for it. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. All right, thank you for joining me once again, and I hope you all are having a great day. And if you have your Rivian, I hope you enjoy it. And if you're waiting for your Rivian, good luck to you. And so far, it's still worth the wait. Y'all take care now.